Hello, everybody. This is Josh Price, and you are listening to the Mark Price for 3 podcast. Each episode, my dad will be talking NBA basketball, sharing some coaching and instruction, and of course, talking about his faith. Without further delay, here's my dad, Mark Price.
Welcome back to the Mark Price for 3 podcast, episode 182 today, which is crazy. 182 episodes, Mark, and we're going to talk about that in the faith segment. But Mark, how are you?
I'm great. Glad to be back. Took a week off last week. Let you and Sam do your thing. But I'm excited to be back. And we're super excited to have a special guest today. Nicki Yates, better known on the Mark Price for 3 challenge as Mama Yates, the winner of the Mark Price for 3 challenge. And welcome, Nicki. It's glad to have you on the program.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
That is awesome. Well, why don't you, Nicki, before we get really into all this, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you, who you are, your family, anything you want to share with us?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, so Cavs fan all the way through. And now I'm still in Northeast Ohio, but I have my husband, Joe. We'll be celebrating 15 years of marriage this next month, actually. So that's exciting. And then we have 2 kids. Shout out to Daisy, who will be 13 in a couple weeks, and Levi, who is 11. That's our family, and we love basketball, so it's fun to do these challenges.
Well, it's great. Well, congratulations on 15 years of marriage. First of all, it's
Thank
great.
you.
I'm scooting up on 40 this year. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Okay.
But it's awesome. I had 4 kids, obviously, people that know the podcast, and they're all grown and gone. So believe it or not, enjoy your kids. I know they're at those ages where it's busy and crazy sometimes, but it goes by fast. So enjoy them. Enjoy them while you have them at home. So
Yes.
It does go by fast. But I guess the thing I need to ask first of all, because probably, here you are. I think you might have been the only female contestant in my challenge. And so you just knocked all these dudes out, including myself, who I was actually in there for a couple of days. But, I just kind of want to get your feel, one, how you picked. If it was, I just hope it's not, and I don't want to step on your toes, not one of those with a girl picking because she liked the color of the uniforms are better than the other ones. I hope you had some secret sauce to your a method to your madness. So why don't you kind of share us how you go about filling out a bracket?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we'd all like to come on here and say that, I came up with some magic algorithm or something, or some fancy spreadsheet that I plugged in a bunch of stats and I, just blew it out of the park with the bracket. But we all know that's not the case with this tournament. Anything can happen. But I mean, basically, I think it's a case of where you pick a little bit with your heart and you pick a little bit with your head, right? And so there's different things that you look at. The game that obviously catapulted me to the top, I think I was down in the bottom third of the standings there for a while when UConn upset Duke. We all know that ball could have bounced, any which way, and it would have been a different outcome. But I did think, coming in, Duke, I think they always have a big target on their back. They're probably the most storied college basketball program. They got, I know Aaron's shaking his head here.
Don't pay attention to Aaron. Don't pay attention to Aaron.
But in reality, they probably had the biggest target. I think they were the number 1 overall seed. Everyone knows Cam Boozer, one of the big NBA prospects. So I always think that just creates a lot of pressure. And I kind of just saw them falling at some point. So I just kind of picked that magic game right there, which is really what did it. On the other side of the bracket, Michigan obviously had a tremendous season. And most people from Ohio, I think, have trouble circling that big block M on their bracket. But this is where the heart comes in a little bit. My family actually has ties in Michigan. My grandparents went to University of Michigan. They met there. Okay. My grandpa played for the baseball team. So that was actually an easy one for me to pick and root for.
Yeah.
And hard for many Ohioans. So yeah.
Well, I think that's great. I was wondering if you had any kind of Michigan connections, being an Ohio girl. I know that's not always easy, but I think it does make it more fun. You do have somewhat of a connection to some team that's in it. I can't say because Georgia Tech was nowhere near the tournament. And
Right.
so I had to try to come up with a team to kind of follow. The team I kind of just enjoyed watching in the tournament was Iowa.
Okay.
They were kind of upstart, and they, gave everybody that Iowa-Nebraska game was unbelievable. That was one of my favorite games of the tournament. But, well, that's awesome, Nicki, and congratulations. I mean, your percentage was Aaron, you kind of followed that. Did you miss maybe one game you missed or something like that?
Yeah, it was like 99 something percent, Mark. It was crazy.
I
Seriously.
don't know what that percentage was. I definitely missed more than that. But it was up there. But I actually I have a small confession to make before. I don't like having to do this, but those were my picks. All right, I entered your challenge and I won that one. I entered another one with my high school softball coach actually, and I won that. But there's one that I failed to win, and that was my own family challenge.
Really?
So my family, my kids, and my husband, we always print out our brackets and we, make our picks. It's really pencil and paper. We have our own little rudimentary point system. So this year, my 73-year-old mom called me from Florida and said, "You guys doing that bracket thing again?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Can I fill out one?" I'm like, "Sure, Mom." I mean, to my recollection, she has never filled out a bracket in her life. I don't know that she watched one game this whole season, but I'll tell you, she sent me her picks with a hand-drawn bracket, right? Like on notebook paper, because she didn't want to buy printer ink. And I filled it in. And she picked all 4 Final Four teams.
Wow.
She picked UConn and Michigan, and she picked Michigan to win, and she blew me out of the water. So I have to get a shout out to Grandma Barb, because she, as good as I felt like I did, I was a little humbled by her picks.
Man, well, we just look out for that one next year, Aaron. We can't let Grandma Barb in the bracket, man. She's dangerous
Should we end the interview now and get Grandma Yates on? Is it Grandma Yates?
I know.
Who it is?
I told her, I'm not letting you have this opportunity.
So obviously,
awesome.
Yeah, obviously, Nicki, you're a sports fan. Basketball, I guess you like. You mentioned playing softball. Did you play any basketball growing up as well, or anybody in your family?
Yeah.
Kind of where's the kind of sports kind of coming from?
Yeah, I just from an early age, I loved all sports really. Basketball's probably my favorite. So I was, an undersized point guard who liked to shoot threes. Does that sound familiar?
Crazy.
I know a guy.
Yeah, you're on the wrong call.
Yeah. I know a guy.
Yeah. So I played basketball, softball, and volleyball kind of growing up and all through high school. I was very fortunate, had some really good softball teams, actually. We won a state championship my senior year, so that was really fun. We had a basketball program that when my class and a couple classes younger than me kind of turned around from being in the dumpster for a little while and won a couple games, or won some tournament games and stuff like that, and went farther than any team has ever gone. Sports have been a huge part of my upbringing, and I love watching them still. I'm coaching my kids now. It's a lot of fun.
So when was your first kind of recollection of, we'll go the Cavs direction right now, of when you first kind of became a Cavs fan?
Man, from pretty young. We didn't have cable TV for a little while, so I can remember hooking up my big 80s like boombox, and putting it out in the driveway and listening to Joe Tate do the games and shooting hoops in the driveway while that was playing. So I also used to, lay in my bed at night with a little clock radio, and I turn that thing to whatever 1590 AM or whatever it was, and I'd listen to games and I was falling asleep. So yeah, I was really fortunate. It was early, you guys were in your prime, Mark, Brad, Larry, Hot Rod, Craig, when I was about, kind of at those early teen years. So just fell in love with the Cavs, loved watching you guys play. It was just, you guys were such a great group of guys and easy to, just high integrity and sportsmanship. So what a great role model, for a kid who loves sports growing up. So yeah, it was pretty early on that I have two brothers. I'm in between two brothers, so I had to keep up with them. And so it's pretty early on that I got into sports, and it was a big part of my childhood for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Aaron, you got any questions?
I do actually, and this is going to sound like a plug, but have your kids been to the Mark Price for camps, the basketball camps, because they're around Cleveland this summer? And this sounds like a plug, and maybe it is, I don't know, but the plug, it's great for those in Northeast Ohio who have grown up like both of us did, loving Mark Price. It's a chance for their kids to be introduced to Mark, and Mark is very integrated in their camps. And I promise you, we did not talk about this beforehand, and Mark's probably cringing right now. But I do want to mention he has some camps, in the Cleveland area this summer. Have your kids been to those? Are they into hoop or no?
But yeah, my son was actually at the Brecksville camp last summer.
Nice.
So I actually met you at that, Mark. I certainly don't expect you to remember, but yeah, I was one of the shameless parents who signed the kids up and told him all about you, and he was eager to go and had a great time. So it's not just a plug. I can back that up. He had a great time. We're looking into the dates for this summer too, trying to make that work.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, he enjoyed it. He enjoyed your accessibility at the camps. He enjoyed how hands-on you were. And he had done some other camps before, but he said this was his favorite. So, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on air, but it was a great experience. So.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I hope to run into you guys again this summer then.
Yeah, I hope so.
Great.
Yeah, well, and I'm still waiting for him to set up one for us older people that loved him growing up, so I can finally learn how to shoot. I don't know about you, Nicki. I don't know if you were a good shooter, but I couldn't. You said you're a point guard. I mean, yeah. I was good at dishing the ball, but I still can't shoot. So, and maybe one day, Mark, we can convince him to set up a shooting camp for us older folks that our kids are older now. But that's so awesome. You are a huge Cavs fan. And gosh, so Mark, do we want to transition now to, hey, game one? We got game one. We got game one. And they did it convincingly. Maybe, let's talk about the Cavs a little bit. Let's talk about game one and where we're going. Game two tonight. We're recording this on Monday, so game two tonight. Yeah, let's talk Cavs.
Well, obviously they did win the first game pretty convincingly in the second half anyway. They kind of separated. But just before we even kind of get into the playoffs, this year's version of the Cavs, Nicki, what are your overall thoughts and realistic hopes for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think I would use the term cautiously optimistic. How's that? I think that's fair for all Cleveland fans, right? I like the changes. It's been a wonky season, right? So many guys in and out of the lineup, so many injuries, and obviously you had all the moves at the deadline. Optimistic because I like the moves they made. I think it does better position us for a little bit of a playoff run. I also like I think the seeding kind of finally worked in our favor. I like the matchup against the Raptors. I think we have a little more talent and depth than they do. Dare I peer into the second round? I like, whether we would get Detroit or Orlando, I feel like we could match up pretty well against them also. The cautious part of me, I think, looks at some of their, we didn't have a lot of time to gel after those changes were made. And with the inconsistency in the lineups and the rotations, it's kind of hard to see, can it come together like this quickly, because it's go time right now. And there's some teams looming ahead, that I think give us trouble. So will the defense hold up and things like that, I think is what we're looking at there. But I'm excited. Yeah,
I agree with you. And that's very, very insightful. I'm right with you on all of that. I mean, very insightful. Aaron, you might have to tell Amico that we might have to kick him to the curb, and it might be, Mama Yates adding to the discussion. But I think everybody would be excited and looking forward, not trying to jump the gun by any means, because they've just played one game. But I think everybody would be excited to see a Cavs Celtics, Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
So that would I think be a lot of fun. I still say the Celtics are probably the team to beat right now, especially with Jason Tatum back. But But yeah, exciting first game. Orlando did pull the upset, got Detroit on their heels. So that could be a long series. If the Cavs could take care of business in 4 or 5, they might get a few days rest. That series might go the distance. We'll see. But yeah, I agree. I think we're all cautiously optimistic.
I walked into church yesterday. I had my Cavs hoodie on because, my church doesn't have to wear suits and ties anymore. And so I had my Cavs hoodie on, and the usher said, "Hey, go Cavs!" And I was like, "Yeah, lower your expectations, bro." He's like, "How do you think they're going to do?" I said, "Let's lower your expectations. Like, we'll see." And so I think that might be the belief for the Cavs fans out there. And I've been a Cleveland Cavs fan as long as I can remember. But yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. So yeah, I agree. Miko's on notice here. Miko's on notice. Mama Yates may be a regular contributor. With that, Mama, I almost said Mama Yates. I don't want to address you as Mama Yates. Nicki, can you? This is your chance here. This was the big prize in the tournament to get a chance to just talk to Mark here. You've had that opportunity to talk, but this is your chance to maybe ask Mark questions you've always wanted to ask him. And then we're going to go to a faith segment here in a bit, but I want to give you this. The floor is yours to ask Mark questions you've always wanted to ask him.
Yeah, I mean, I've followed your career pretty closely, so I do know most of the playing days. I guess I followed pretty closely. I'm curious about some of the coaching endeavors that you undertook. I know there was some stints with a few NBA teams as assistant. I think there was a college team maybe at some point, and even a stint overseas for a time. But I'm wondering what you felt about coaching, whether you really enjoyed it or wished you were just still playing, and maybe if there were any players, when you were working with the NBA teams, if there were any players that you felt like were really kind of fun to work with, or you really saw improvement in their shot or whatever you were working on.
Yeah, I kind of ran the gamut coaching wise, all the way from, I coached a high school team in Atlanta after I got through playing for a couple of years, and then assistant coach at Georgia Tech. Got to play for my college got to coach with my college coach, Bobby Crimmins, his last season at Georgia Tech. Those are just some great memories there. And then, then the coaching, my kids were young, and so I took a while to kind of take that dive into coaching just because I knew the kind of commitment that it would take. And I wasn't ready to give that. I had traveled so much and, while I was playing, that I needed some time to be dad and to connect, with the kids and be involved with their things. And as they started to, get up a little bit older into high school and things like that, is when a lot of people, I actually started what I called a shooting lab in Atlanta. Basically, it's the same concept of kind of what the golfers do with the golf swing, kind of using video and different technology to kind of help people with their shot. Okay. And then it got pretty popular to the point where several NBA teams were sending me guys to come in. A couple different guys, Lou Williams, who had a great career. I got kind of straightened his shot out and really kind of took his game to the next level. I worked with guys like Al Horford, who was with the Hawks at the time, and different guys. So had a lot of different guys come through. Even the year before they won the championship, the Celtics sent Rajon Rondo to me and kind of worked on his shot, and he had a pretty good shooting year, the year they won the championship. So, I felt really good I was actually making a difference, helping guys out. And that kind of led to the coaching, because the Hawks were the first to approach me about kind of coming on their staff full time as a shooting coach. And I really still at that point in time wasn't ready to commit fully. So I basically gave them an offer I knew they would refuse. I said, I'll come to every practice, every home game, but I'm not going with you on the road. I just was like, I was 100% or 99.9% sure they were going to say, well, we can't do that. And they were like, okay, let's do it. And so, I got to do that for 2 years with the Hawks, and that was a great. I didn't have to travel, and I did go to the playoffs with them. That's when they had a pretty good team with Joe Johnson, Al Horford, Josh Smith, and all those guys. They had, matter of fact, I got to the Cavs, and the Cavs, the LeBron days, and the Cavs took them out pretty good. But So that was kind of and then I just started kind of, going to other teams and, Orlando and Charlotte. Actually became a full-time assistant with the Hornets. And that kind of led to a coaching job there in Charlotte, staying there with the college there, University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Yeah, I enjoyed coaching. College, probably not quite as much as the NBA, just because the NBA was just basketball, and college had a lot more going on. Although it might be a lot more like the NBA now, the way guys are getting paid. So, maybe you don't have to worry about them going to class anymore and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But back then, when it was actually kind of an amateur sport, there was a lot of work at the college level, and a lot of it didn't have anything to do with basketball.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because I just didn't know a lot about kind of what you were doing after your playing days and stuff. So, and especially now that my playing days are waning quickly and I'm a little more on the coaching side of things. We just do some rec sports and things. It's nothing like huge, but It's a fun way to still kind of keep in with the sport and kind of pass things on to the next generation. So that's great. Thanks for answering that.
Yeah. Any other questions you got for me?
Well, I got one more that would probably tie into kind of the faith segment a little bit. So I don't know if I'd rather save it and go ahead and transition, or if you want me to.
Hey, remember that thing?
You got to be more specific.
Remember November?
You mean Thanksgiving?
Right after that, on Saturday? Remember the thing?
Don't.
That football thing?
Stop.
That 13-10 football thing?
Okay, fine. Remember that college football playoff and national championship thing?
Okay, that felt very targeted.
It was.
The Rivalry Podcast is back, sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
All the college football sports talk you can handle.
With none of the trash.
Except when we talk about your team up north.
Subscribe to the Rivalry Podcast in your podcast app.
Or go to riverradio.com.
Well, Nicki, let me ask you, do you want to ask him how many points he would average in today's NBA?
I think I know the answer to that. Today's NBA is built perfectly for his skill set. And I know the feeling because I had a couple of 3-point records at my high school that there's still one that stands, but the other ones have been shattered because these days those kids just throw them up there like they're layups, right? Back when I played, a couple a game was all I got. So
that's right.
So I know the feeling there too.
For sure.
Well, I feel like there's a mounting pressure here for a 3-point shootout with Nicki and Mark, maybe at one of the camps. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm just here to be the straw that stirs the drink. I'm just saying, maybe over the summer. And then Nicki, of course, do you want to ask about the shot? Everybody ask about the shot, or do you want to avoid the shot? I know Mark's answered that question multiple times on the podcast, but those are the two questions that always come up from every guest.
Yeah, no, I'm avoiding the shot. I don't know that I don't want to relive that or think about it anymore. So
I really don't know what you're talking about, Aaron, because I don't remember.
Well, I typically wear a pair of low-cut Air Jordans, the black, white, and red ones, and Mark's not a fan of them. I mean, my kid bought them for me. Well, how can I not wear them? So let's go to the faith segment. And Nicki, you've been wonderful with your time. This has been very enjoyable. I do want to talk to the faith segment. And you and I messaged, and you shared the fact that your faith has been influenced by Mark. And so this wasn't just a tournament for you. This wasn't just a bracket challenge. This wasn't just a podcast for you. I think this is a very special moment for you. So I want to get the heck out of the way and let you just talk about the man that, has influenced both of us. I've mentioned it many times. I get the opportunity to do that. But I want to give you the chance to maybe talk about the influence that Mark has had on your life and your faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just tell you what a privilege this is, because it really is a lifelong dream just to be able to sit here. I thought I was going to have to be in heaven, but I guess I get to do it now. But yeah, as I had mentioned, growing up, I grew up in a wonderful home, just very loving and safe and protected, and tons of opportunities. So all of that was great. But we went to a church that wasn't really teaching the Bible. I went through my in teen years without ever really hearing the gospel. No one really ever told me I was a sinner. No one, and so consequently, I had no idea, why did I need Jesus, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize the separation that I had with God and that Jesus was the only way to bridge that. But we already mentioned my obsession with basketball and the Cavs. And while other, girls my age especially had posters of, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were real big back then. I had Mark Price posters on my wall. So it was unique. And there's one thing in particular, because I was obsessed with the Cavs and loved Mark as my favorite player. One Easter, what arrived in my Easter basket was your CD. I have the cover right here, and I know the listeners obviously can't see this, but the Mark Price and Lifeline CD. And I thought it was the coolest thing because it was like round and looked like a basketball. And I listened to that thing from cover to cover hundreds of times, and I had every lyric memorized.
Wow.
And I'll be honest, at that point, I didn't have people speaking truth into my life, really. I wasn't at a Bible teaching church. My parents at the time weren't walking with the Lord. So this was truth. This was truth that was like getting in my soul. And I thought I was a Christian because we did go to church. I got straight A's. I was a 3-sport athlete. I didn't drink or party. I thought that's what it meant. I thought that you just lived a good moral life. And I think a lot of people probably think that way.
Yes.
So one of the things and I'll be brief, but there was one line in one of the songs that just stuck with me, and I wrote it down so I could say it correctly. It said, "Now, if you claim that you really love Jesus, you can't take it half the way. All or nothing, in or out. What are you going to say?" And for a long time, that actually was hard for me to say, because I knew I was not all in. I knew there was something missing. I was resting on my laurels. I was resting on, whatever accomplishments that I'd done so far in my life. And so that just really kind of sat with me for a few years, really, until I finally kind of surrendered my life to Jesus and said, I can't, you don't have one foot in, you don't have one foot out. It's either you're all in or you're all out. And so that CD, that line, I can't tell you how much that really spoke to me. And all throughout, that's the one line I kind of picked to share. But all throughout that album was just super meaningful to me growing up. And that kind of was my second question. Was I don't even know really the background in terms of how that came to be. You're a basketball player and all of a sudden you got this singing gig, and I got to tell you that was huge for me. And I've since
Well, I really, I might start crying here or whatever. That's one of the reasons that I did that. It's funny that the words that you picked out of that particular song, Steadfast, was an original song. I had a guy that wrote the music, but I'm the one that wrote the lyrics.
Wow.
And it comes from a scripture verse talking about, being steadfast in our faith and not looking to the left or the right. And God just kind of gave me those words. And for that to have impacted you, toward faith in Christ, that's what the ACL injury was for. It was for God to make an impact, because that was really the reason I tore my ACL, and I was out a year, and I was kind of going crazy, because, it's just a tough time of life. And I grew up singing with my family, gospel music. And then I sang some in college with some guys, the music minister at our church at the chapel and another guy. We had done a little bit of singing together, and I was like, I don't have anything to do right now other than try to heal, and I want to do an album. And so, everybody probably thought I was crazy. Most people probably didn't even know I sang. But that kind of turned into, and it's amazing because still to this day, when people see me or have met me for the first time, that's one of the things that a lot of people bring up is I got your CD. And I don't know, it's crazy that God used that the way he did. But I appreciate you sharing that. That hit me hard, because that particular song was the only song on there that I actually wrote. And so, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, thank you. And glory to God for that, because he obviously knew that I needed, something, and to give it to me in the form of basketball and things like that I already had loved. And to grip my heart like that I might cry right along with you. So thank you. Thank you for just your faithfulness in sharing that talent and in taking on a project, while you were laid up. It was amazing.
I appreciate that. And the point, you made in that song, a lot where that came from is a scripture that talks about God wants us to be hot or cold, but, lukewarm, he spits us out of his mouth. And to your point, I know there may be other listeners out there this week that maybe they're sitting on the fence, trying to have one foot in and one foot out. And our prayer for whoever that might be today is, man, just Jesus he doesn't want some of you. He doesn't want part of you. He wants all of you. That's the best place to be, for sure. And our prayer is that you will take that step, if you haven't, to give Jesus your whole heart and make him Lord of your life.
I'm going to close this out here. And that's a good word from both of you. Honestly, it's been such a joy to just listen to this. It also, Nicki, you don't even know this, but my thought before we even got into this today was we always hear the thing about people arriving in heaven and seeing this line of people they have impacted, right? I think that's maybe what we all live for. Look, we live to go to heaven and meet Jesus, but I think we also know the impact we have in our lives, and we maybe some of us just hope to see that line of people that we don't even know that we impacted, or maybe that's the surprise that waits for us when we get there. I will tell you, it's funny, behind me, people, we don't put out video typically, but behind me, you probably see you mentioned a poster. Do you see the one behind me?
One. Yeah.
I'm 55 years old. I still got a Mark Price poster on my wall. And honestly, the bookshelf behind me, if I could go get it, there's a CD by Mark Price as well. So I really identify with you in that. And growing up, I had the same CD and I had the same posters. And so, and Mark's probably gonna be a little embarrassed here if that's possible. But I think what we're both trying to say is thank you, Mark, for giving to the Lord, as the one song says. I'm a life that's changed. Nicki, you just shared the same thing. You're a life that's changed. And so I guess as I wrap this up and what both of you said is we all have that opportunity. And as Mark said, if you're a believer, if you're not a believer, maybe this has influenced you as well. But if you are a believer, we have that impact every single day. We don't have to be Mark. And even when we struggle, even when we have a setback like an ACL injury, we can do something else that will create. It doesn't mean we're going to go out and record a CD. Don't nobody want to hear me sing, but I promise you, there's something else we can do that can impact a life like Nicki. And Nicki, we did not even know that. We put out this. That's what's my mind is blown, and I'm sure Mark and I are going to have a post game conversation on text. But my mind is blown that we put out a tournament challenge and you won that thing. And you know why you won that thing? And honestly, is so you could be here with us today. I mean, I really believe that. My gosh, what a testimony about your life and how Mark influenced you, but most of all, how Jesus influenced you. What an incredible testimony. I'm going to walk away from this podcast today just so blown away. This was ordained here, like today. I don't know. I feel like I should take off my shoes. I feel like we're holy ground a little bit because Mark, I don't know about you, but I'm blown away, Mark. I'm blown away that this is incredible. So Nicki, thank you for just putting your name in a tournament challenge, because I'm blown away, and I'm not even Mark, but he's got a direct tie to you here and everything that you shared. What an incredible testimony to God's faithfulness and his plan. And so I'll get off I'll get off the podium now, but I just, man, what an incredible opportunity for me to just be here today. And so, Mark, I'll let you take it from there, but wow, what an incredible testimony to God's faithfulness and his plan. This is awesome. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, God's awesome. And he totally put this together. And Nicki, I'm just so appreciative and thankful that you were willing to come on and share your story with us today because, man, it's, people come on to hear me or other
Not
things.
Me.
We love getting guests on from time to time that we don't really know necessarily, but God has ordained that, and to hear their story and what God's done in their life. And for me to have a part in that's just Aaron and I, say the reason we do this is for the one, to honor him. And you did that in a really special way today. So thank you.
Well, really, I feel like the honor is mine. I appreciate you guys having me on. And, you guys didn't know me. You didn't know what I was going to say. And again, the Lord just, orchestrated this whole thing. And I'm eternally grateful for, Mark, your faithfulness and just using your gifts that the Lord gave you and you had no idea, back then that there was a 12-year-old girl, listening to those songs. So thank you for that.
Well, tell your husband and your children that I said that Mama Yates did them proud today. So thank you.
I will. They will be excited to hear. They were all excited for me in this opportunity. So they know how much it meant to me. So thank you.
Well, I don't want to go too far ahead, but I have a feeling it might not be the last. So let's just leave it at that. I have a feeling Amico is on watch. So yeah, Sam Amico might be on watch here. But no, I'm thank you so much. Again, Mama Yates, Nicki Yates, thank you so much. We look forward to next March, if nothing else, to see if you can repeat as our champion. But this has been awesome. And so for Mark, for Nicki, I'm Aaron. This has been episode 183 of the Mark Price for 3 podcast, or 182 of the Mark Price for 3 podcast. And we will talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Mark Price for 3 podcast. Remember to subscribe, like, review, and share. I'm Josh Price, and we will talk to you again on the next episode.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com.